we have a diamond ring that we're going to have as a door prize.
For many years, people have visited Elvis's home, smiling as they saw where the king once lived. But not everyone knows what Elvis was hiding in his basement. It's a secret full of love, memories, and surprises that will truly leave you speechless. Join us as we uncover the most shielded treasures hidden in Elvis Presley's home. The hidden world behind Elvis's mansion. Graceland wasn't only home to Elvis, it also welcomed those he loved the most, like his family, his childhood buddies, and the guys who stuck by him no matter what. Inside its walls, there was always movement, noise, jokes, and warm conversations. It was filled with life and energy, completely different from the clean-cut image fans saw in magazines or on television. The mansion was like two different worlds. The downstairs area was always alive. Visitors could hang out in the living room, eat together in the dining space, or just relax in the kitchen. There was music, chatter, and joy everywhere. But the upstairs area was totally different. That part of the house was private. It was his secret world, a place only a few people ever entered. That's where Elvis slept, where he had quiet thoughts, and where he faced the ups and downs of being famous. He didn't let many people up there. It was special, personal, and quiet. While the world called him a king, that private space reminded him that he was still human. During his biggest years, Graceland stood beside Elvis during all the key moments of his career. That's where he cheered for his gold records, got ready for major TV appearances, and rehearsed for movie roles that would later become iconic. It was the place he went to think, rest, and decide his next big move. And yet, it wasn't just a place to sleep. It was a mirror of who he truly was, playful, bold, and full of imagination. Elvis loved decorating in fun and unexpected ways. Every room had its own theme and told a different story. One of the most talked about spaces was the Jungle Room. It looked like something from a tropical island, with green shag rugs, carved wooden furniture, and even a waterfall inside the house. It wasn't just about looking cool, it was a place full of feeling. Later on, that same room became his recording studio. He made some of his last songs there, surrounded by the wild, cozy atmosphere he loved so much. Now, down in the basement, where the most unexpected things were found, Elvis had another one of his creative ideas. He built a TV area inspired by President Lyndon B. Johnson, who used to watch 3 news channels at once. Elvis did the same thing. He installed 3 TVs side by side so he could stay in the loop with everything happening. He watched sports, the news, and TV shows, all while relaxing with friends in that cool setup. It helped him feel connected, even when he chose to hide away from the public. There was also the billiard room, another part of the house that showed his fun side. It was wrapped in colorful fabric, giving it a comfy and vibrant look. That room became the perfect place for late-night pool games, laughter, and friendly competitions with the people who meant the most to him. Every piece of Graceland had Elvis's touch, and every moment spent there felt like stepping into a world built straight from his heart. Elvis had a strong competitive spirit, and that side of him really showed when he played pool. He didn't just enjoy the game, he wanted to win every time. There was also a special part of Graceland that celebrated his incredible journey. Known as the Trophy Hall, it was like walking into a treasure room filled with bright, shiny awards. Gold and platinum records sparkled alongside movie props and honors he had picked up from every part of his career. Anyone stepping inside that hall could feel like they were walking through a picture book of Elvis's life, starting from his humble beginnings in Tupelo all the way to becoming a worldwide legend. Graceland was more than just a fancy house. It told the story of who Elvis really was. Not just the man with fans screaming his name, but someone deeply devoted to the people close to him. His love for family, his strong friendships, and his deep passion for music could all be felt in every room. It wasn't some quiet museum while he was alive. It was full of life, laughter, music, and unforgettable memories. It was the one place where Elvis didn't have to act like a superstar. He could just be himself, relax, and enjoy the company of those he loved. Aside from finding so much solace in Graceland, do you know Elvis Presley wasn't the first person to live in that mansion? This is one of the intriguing things about Elvis' reason for choosing the mansion over so many options. But to find out how he got into such a space, keep watching. When Elvis bought the home. Long before Elvis Presley ever walked through its doors, Graceland was already a place with a beautiful past, full of music, love, and family memories. It all started with the Toeff family, one of the well-known families in Memphis. They were the first to own the wide land that later became known all over the world. They named it after a family member they deeply cherished, Grace Toeff. Grace was known for her kindness and welcoming heart, and the land was meant to carry her gentle spirit. In 1939, long before Elvis even thought of buying it, Grace's niece, Ruth Brown Moore, and her husband, Dr. Thomas Moore, decided to build a large and charming Southern-style house on that land. The house was designed with grace and beauty in mind, with tall columns and a peaceful look that quickly made it stand out in the area. People admired how grand it looked, and it didn't take long before the house became a special place in the neighborhood. But it wasn't just a pretty house. Music was already part of its soul. Ruth Moore had a deep love for music. She played the harp beautifully and was part of the well-respected Memphis Symphony Orchestra. Her love for music flowed through every room in the house, bringing it to life even before rock and roll was born. Graceland was more than just a place to live. It was a space where music, art, and togetherness were always welcome. At that time, there was even something magical about the place. The sounds of melodies that Ruth played seemed to wrap around the walls, setting the stage for what was to come. Every tune she played planted seeds of musical energy that would later grow even stronger when Elvis moved in. Her music laid a soft and elegant foundation that made it feel natural when Elvis bought in a louder, bolder kind of music. The land itself was once huge, stretching across 500 acres. Over the years, parts of it were sold off, but the main piece, the heart of Graceland, was kept. Its big green lawns, tall old trees, and friendly front porch still stayed, holding on to the memories of the past. The property always seemed to carry the feeling of family, tradition, and creativity. And when Elvis arrived, he didn't change that spirit. He just added more vibe to it. When Elvis first saw Graceland, it wasn't just the size or the fancy look that spoke to him. What pulled him in was the feeling, like the house already had music inside it, like it had been waiting for someone like him. He felt a connection, as if the house had a soul that matched his own. Without even knowing the full story, he stepped into a home that already had music in its walls. The musical roots that Ruth Moore had left behind made it easy for Graceland to become a place of rock and roll. It was as if her soft harp music had created a path for Elvis's louder songs to follow. Inside those rooms, blues, gospel, and rock came alive, blending with the house's rich past. And in that mix, Graceland became more than just a home. It became a legend that still sings to this day. Graceland always seemed like it was meant to be more than just a house. It was like a stage where music from the past and future could meet and dance together. It carried a quiet magic, like it had been waiting patiently for someone like Elvis Presley to step into its story. Long before he ever lived there, the house was already humming with energy, filled with tradition, and ready to welcome something extraordinary. It didn't need a king to bring it to life. It was already alive, full of heart, and deeply connected to the rhythm of Memphis. It only needed someone who could understand its soul. And when Elvis found it, everything fell into place. By the time 1957 rolled around, Elvis was no longer just a boy from Tupelo with a guitar. He had become a sensation, someone who had taken over the world with his voice, his style, and his presence. His songs topped every chart, his face lit up movie screens, and fans followed him wherever he went. But with all that attention came something he had slowly lost, which was his peace. What Elvis needed more than anything was a quiet place to rest, away from the bright lights and loud crowds. He longed for a space where he could breathe, feel normal again, and just be himself. He was only 22 when he found Graceland. It wasn't the size or the fancy look that touched him. It was the calm it promised. The quiet streets and wide open space felt like the escape he didn't even know he was searching for. That peaceful feeling is what convinced him. He bought the home for $12,500, a big amount at the time, especially for someone who not too long ago had been delivering appliances and driving trucks. But for Elvis, it wasn't about showing off. He wasn't chasing status. It was about enjoying the peace that came with the house. What Elvis saw in Graceland was a safe place, somewhere to settle his heart while the world moved crazier around him every day. Even though the house was already beautiful, Elvis didn't just move in and leave it the way it was. He wanted it to feel like him, especially the fun, warm, and love part of him. Almost right away, he began changing things to make it his own. It wasn't about copying fancy styles, it was about creating a home where he could truly feel free. He added rooms, redesigned spaces, and turned Graceland into something new and deeply personal. One of those new rooms became famous, the Jungle Room, full of wild colors and unique furniture that only Elvis could have imagined. His style mixed Southern comfort with a splash of boldness that made every corner feel exciting. He didn't design it to impress the world. He didn't need to. This was his hiding place, his playground, and his heart all rolled into one. Graceland became a home where people came together to laugh, sing, and enjoy life. It was where Elvis could relax without shoes, eat with family, and stay up late talking with friends. Every small choice he made for the house, down to the curtains or the music gates, was done with care, based on what made him happy, not what others would think. Graceland wasn't just where Elvis lived. It was where he found himself again, a place that let him stay grounded, even while his fame soared higher than ever. And through every change he made, the house became a part of him, just as much as his music had become a part of the world. Graceland quickly turned into more than just a quiet house for Elvis. It became the center of his world, where his closest friends, known as the Memphis Mafia, always gathered. It was a place full of music, laughter, and late-night fun. There were nights filled with gospel music, movie binges, and impromptu music sessions that carried on until the sun came up. It was also a safe space where Elvis could escape the noise of fame and be with people he trusted. When things outside got overwhelming, Graceland gave him peace. In those early days, Elvis wasn't searching for riches or fancy things. What he really wanted was a place to feel grounded, a place where he could still be himself, just a regular man, not a superstar. Graceland gave him that feeling. It was the one spot where he could still be the loving son, the loyal friend, and the boy with big dreams. Through his ideas and his heart, Elvis slowly changed the grand house into a home filled with his personality. Every corner reflected who he was deep inside. Every wall had a story to tell. It wasn't a perfect mansion, it was something better. It was his safe space, a place where he could simply be Elvis. The most private part of the mansion. According to reports, one part of the mansion was strictly kept private, and you might be wondering why. Well, that area has stayed hidden from visitors even long after Elvis passed away. No one is allowed past the main staircase, out of deep respect for how much that space meant to him and to his family. To preserve his legacy, it has remained untouched, kept just the way Elvis left it, as if to protect a little piece of him that still lingers there. For Elvis, the top floor wasn't just extra space, it was his escape. It was where he could breathe and just be the man behind all the fame. Only his closest loved ones ever stepped into that part of the house. And even then, it was treated like something sacred. At the very center of this private space was Elvis's bedroom, tucked in the southwest corner of the home. It was built for comfort and styled to match his big personality. The bold colors, deep reds, shiny blacks, and rich golds made it feel both cozy and royal. Everything in that room, from the soft fabrics to the fancy mirrors and detailed furniture, showed his love for beauty and drama. Right next to his bedroom was a large dressing area, more like a secret wardrobe world. Here, his famous stage outfits and casual clothes were neatly arranged, ready for whatever came next, whether it was a big performance or a quiet night watching TV. This wasn't just a place to pick out clothes, it was where he prepared to step into the spotlight or simply unwind in style. Just across the hall, there was another special room, his private office and study. This space had a much calmer feel, filled with shelves of books, handwritten notes, and personal items that meant something to him. It was where Elvis let his mind wander and learn new things. He had a deep love for reading and would often travel with boxes filled with books, always curious and eager to grow. That little study was more than a workspace. It was where his thoughts had room to breathe, far from the noise of the world. Upstairs in Elvis's beloved home, there was a quiet room where he spent time thinking, reading, and planning his next moves in peace. It was more than just a study. It was his escape from the noise of the outside world. But one of the most touching spaces in that private area was the bedroom of his daughter, Lisa Marie. Being his only child, she meant everything to him. Her room was filled with warmth, color, and love. It wasn't just a space for sleep. It was where they laughed, played, and made memories that meant the world to him. That little room showed the soft, loving side of a man the world usually saw as powerful and untouchable. But upstairs also held a deep sadness. The bathroom, where Elvis's life came to a sudden end in 1977, has remained exactly the same ever since. Nothing there was changed, not for display or drama, but out of deep love and respect for him. It was kept as it was, quiet and untouched, to honor the private life he cherished so much. Elvis's upstairs area had a feeling all its own. People often remembered how cold it always was. His friend Lamar Fike once joked that it felt like a freezer. It was so chilly that guests had to wrap up in jackets just to stay warm. Thick curtains, dark colors, and heavy textures filled every room, making it feel like a warm nest where Elvis could shut out the world and rest. The reds, blacks, and golds weren't chosen randomly. They perfectly matched his bold and passionate nature. Every corner of that floor was made to suit him, offering comfort, privacy, and a place that felt totally separate from the chaos of fame. Even now, no one is allowed to visit that part of the house. It remains sealed off, holding tightly to the memories of the man who once walked those halls. It's like time stopped up there. It serves as a gentle reminder that even someone as famous as Elvis needed a quiet space to just be himself. When Lisa Marie Presley passed away in 2023, her daughter Riley Keough became the next person to look after Graceland. For Riley, it wasn't just about legal rights, it was a deeply personal journey. She had grown up inside those walls, not as a fan or tourist, but as a little girl who called it home. The smell of Southern cooking in the kitchen, the big stairs, the echo of laughter in the halls, all of it was part of her life. Every room was tied to special memories, including moments with a grandfather she had never met, but still felt close to. As Riley took on the responsibility of preserving the estate, she began to explore areas of Graceland that hadn't been touched in years. She came across small, hidden places, drawers, shelves, and compartments that held secrets from Elvis's life. Inside them were letters, old pictures from his tours, and personal notes. These small discoveries told powerful stories. They didn't just show Elvis the star, they showed Elvis the man, full of feelings, memories, and love. One of the most emotional discoveries Riley found was a simple black box. Inside, she saw things that might seem ordinary to others: expired credit cards, an old comb with his hair still in it, and little keepsakes he once carried in his pocket. But for the family, these were priceless. These were the everyday things Elvis touched, the small parts of his life that now felt frozen in time. What surprised Riley the most was how perfectly everything upstairs had been preserved. The furniture was untouched, the decorations remained just as they were, and nothing was moved from its original place. The red velvet, the mirrors, the gold details, even the TV at the end of his bed, all looked exactly as they did the last time Elvis used them. It felt like he had just stepped out for a moment and might walk back in at any time. Being in that space was like stepping into a memory that still breathed with life. For Riley, keeping that floor exactly the way it was isn't about turning it into a tourist stop. It's about protecting the heart of her family. It's about holding on to the parts of Elvis that the world never really got to see. The father, the man who craved peace, the man who needed love just like everyone else. That upstairs space continues to carry his energy, not for the cameras, but for the ones who truly knew and loved him. Riley has shared how deeply she feels connected to him every time she walks through those rooms. It's a responsibility she takes seriously, carefully balancing the public's admiration for Elvis with the quiet family memories that still linger in every hallway. Looking after Graceland, for her, means more than protecting a building. She's guarding a treasure of music, history, and deep emotional ties that run through her bloodline. And because of her care, the mystery of Graceland's second floor now feels a little less distant. It's easier to picture the man behind the music as someone who needed a warm place to call home. Elvis's bedroom, right in the center of that private space, was unlike anything else. It wasn't just a sleeping spot, it was his escape, a room that made him feel safe and at ease. The bed was huge, about 7 feet by 9 feet, with a shiny mirrored headboard that gave the space a touch of glamour. The deep red shades, golden touches, and rich black tones wrapped the room in cozy warmth. Thick, soft carpet lined the floors, making it feel dreamy and far from the outside world. This was where he could truly be himself, far from the stage lights. Even in his quiet space, Elvis loved his gadgets. At the foot of his bed sat a big TV, perfect for watching movies late at night. Another one hung right above his head, so he could lie back and watch without lifting a finger. It was the perfect setup for a man who wanted to stay connected without leaving his safe space. This bedroom wasn't just part of a house. It was the heart of a man who gave so much to the world and needed a quiet place to recharge. Even now, that room whispers his story, not in loud songs, but in the soft silence of everything he left behind. Apart from these parts of the house, there's a particular room that gave Elvis a sense of fulfillment. Just stay tuned to find out, where Elvis finally found peace. Upstairs in Elvis's home, connected right to his bedroom, was a large private room that acted like his own personal fashion world. This was where all his clothes were kept, from sparkling stage costumes to the everyday outfits he wore when relaxing. It wasn't just a closet, it was a reflection of his personality. The glittery jumpsuits, soft silk shirts, leather jackets, and carefully arranged accessories showed how much he cared about his image, not just for the spotlight, but for himself too. Every outfit held a special memory: concerts, TV shows, and unforgettable moments. That room was where Elvis transformed. It was where he switched from being just a man at home into the superstar the world knew and loved. A little further down the hallway was a completely different kind of room. It was quieter, softer, filled with peace. This was Elvis's study, his thinking corner. Books lined the shelves from wall to wall, covering topics like faith, history, life lessons, and personal growth. Elvis didn't just enjoy reading, he carried books with him everywhere he went. His study at Graceland was his space for learning, understanding, and finding deeper meaning in life. It wasn't just a workspace, it held treasured items, photos from his journeys, gifts from fans, and heartfelt notes. A warm chair beside the fireplace invited him to sit back and lose himself in thought, away from the noise of fame and the constant attention. This space, like all the others upstairs, was made for him, not for guests or showing off. Every detail, color, and even decoration was chosen because it made Elvis feel at home. These rooms weren't just parts of a house. They were filled with heart. Each one had its own purpose, but they all shared something special: peace, creativity, and privacy. They reflected a man who, despite being world famous, deeply valued the comfort of his own world. The upstairs of Graceland felt like stepping into Elvis's heart. It showed who he truly was when the cameras were off. A man who wanted a soft bed, clothes that made him feel like himself, books that helped him understand life, and spaces that let him dream freely. Just behind the grand house, hidden among shady trees and quiet stone paths, there's a garden that holds the most emotional part of Graceland. This is the meditation garden. Elvis asked for this peaceful place to be made while he was still alive. It was meant to be somewhere he could go to relax, think, and feel close to something bigger than himself. The air feels calm there, like time slows down and the busy world disappears. But after he passed away suddenly in 1977, he was buried in a cemetery in Memphis, next to his mother, Gladys. Sadly, after a failed attempt to steal his remains, his family had no choice but to move both Elvis and his mother back to Graceland, where they would be safe and watched over. Now, Elvis rests in that same quiet garden. He's surrounded by the people who meant the most to him. His parents, Vernon and Gladys, lie beside him, along with his grandmother, Minnie Mae, lovingly called Dodger, who lived with him for many years and brought comfort to his life. In 2020, tragedy hit the family again. Elvis's grandson, Benjamin Keogh, the son of Lisa Marie Presley, passed away and was buried near his grandfather. Then in 2023, after Lisa Marie's own heartbreaking passing, she too was laid to rest next to her father and son, making the garden a resting place filled with deep love and painful loss. One more memorial stone in the garden honors someone Elvis never got to meet. It belongs to Jesse Garon Presley, Elvis's twin brother who was stillborn. Though Jesse never lived, Elvis always carried him in his heart. And now Jesse's memory is part of the family circle too. When people visit the garden, they often bring flowers, write messages, and leave tokens of their love, not just for the star, but for the real man behind the fame. They remember the son, the father, the grandson, and the friend. The soft sound of water flowing, colorful flowers blooming, and the peaceful silence make this garden feel like more than just a burial place. It becomes a reminder of who Elvis truly was deep inside. The garden stands in contrast to the wild, fast-paced life he lived. It's gentle, it's quiet, and it feels like the place he was always searching for. However, Elvis didn't just leave behind music and movies. He left behind a story, a home, and a legacy. This is because Graceland isn't just a house anymore. It's a memory you can walk through. More than 500,000 people visit it each year, coming from all over the world just to feel close to the man they love. It's one of the most visited homes in the United States, just behind the White House. That alone shows how deeply people still care. Even after all these years, Elvis's light hasn't dimmed. Graceland stands strong, not just as a building, but as a beautiful tribute to the heart, soul, and life of the King of Rock and Roll. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe, and also click the next video shown on your screen.